Hi, I hope you all are doing really well. But before I begin with this video, I'd like to tell you about an incident that recently happened with me. So, I was talking to a 9-year-old nephew of mine. He's a very demanding child, and I was trying to impart in him some sense or some value of money. So, I said, "Do you have any idea where we'll get our money from after we have exhausted all of it on your toys?" His views really enlightened me about what probably the best source of finance could be. He said, "We can borrow money from a pessimist." I said, "What?" He said, "They never expect anything back." And I was like, what in this world kids are watching on TV these days? Anyways, we are doing reading 29th Sources of Capital. This is the first LOS and it requires us to describe the types of financing methods and considerations in their selection. Here, we'll mainly be discussing the sources of financing such as internal financing, external financing, and others. Then we'll move on to the considerations that affect the financing choices. So let's begin with the sources of financing first. And as mentioned, we'll be doing these sources, that is internal financing, external financing, capital market financing, and others. The first one is internal financing. Short-term finance and liquidity can be generated by a company through internal financing. There are three ways of generating finance in form of internal financing. They are 1. Increase the amount of after-tax operating cash flows. 2. Working on the working capital efficiency. And 3. Liquidating the liquid assets. Let's start with increasing the amount of after-tax operating cash flows. So, what is operating cash flow? Operating cash flow is the measure of amount of cash generated by a company's normal business operations such as sale, purchase, expenses on sales, etc. And note here, it does not take into account any item that forms a part of income statement that is not a part of normal business operations, such as depreciation, amortization, etc. So the expenses such as depreciation and amortization, they are not a part of normal business operations of a company. Hence, they don't get accounted in the operating cash flow. And operating cash flow can be calculated from net income by adding depreciation and reducing dividend payments. And a company can increase the amount of its internal financing by increasing the amount of after-tax operating cash flows. Now the second one is working on the working capital efficiency. What is working capital? The working capital is a financial metric which represents operating liquidity available to a business, organization, or other entity, including governmental entities. There are many ways of increasing the working capital efficiency of a business, like A. Extending the company's accounts payable period. This can be done by negotiating the debt contracts with the lenders. And while doing so, one must consider two countering forces. 1. Paying too early can prove to be costly unless there are enough discounts and incentives available. And 2. Too late payments or stretching the accounts payable may impact the creditworthiness of a company. So, you need to carefully analyze all the options. B. Reducing receivables period. The receivables period can be reduced by altering the credit period that we provide to the debtors. But these credit terms also impact the amount of sales. Generally, customers prefer to buy from the vendors that are offering easy payment options. So if you reduce the credit term to your debtors, the sale figures might see an impact. Hence, you need to carefully examine the costs and benefits of extending and reducing the receivables period. And lastly, shortening the asset conversion cycle. What is asset conversion cycle? The asset conversion cycle is a process by which the asset is used to create goods and services, deliver them to customers, and then collect the resulting receivables and convert them back into cash. So, it is a process that begins with procuring material and making arrangement for production of goods and services and goes on to making sales and converting the same into cash. Now, if we can reduce the size of this cycle in terms of number of days, we can increase the amount of operating cash available to the company. This will increase the available internal finance. And how can this be done? Managing the inventory properly and efficiently can reduce the asset conversion cycle because maintaining inventory for a longer involves huge cost. One can also introduce just-in-time approach to manage the inventory efficiently. Now moving on to the last source of short-term internal finance, that is liquidating liquid assets. This can be done by converting short-term assets such as receivables, inventories, and marketable securities into cash. All these can be sold quickly in the times when there is a need for cash. We now move on to the external financing through financial intermediaries. Financial intermediaries such as banks and non-bank lenders may provide financing through these means: line of credit, revolving credit agreement, secured asset-based loans, factoring arrangement, web-based and non-bank lenders. Let's start with line of credits. A line of credit is a credit facility extended by a bank or other financial institution to a government, business, or individual customer. It enables the customer to draw on the facility when the customer needs funds. So it's like a credit limit provided to you. You can withdraw any amount up to that limit when you need short-term finance, like an overdraft facility. It is usually in form of a letter of credit provided by the bank in return of a fee, guaranteeing the investor that the company's obligations will be paid. The line of credits can be of two types: uncommitted line of credit and committed or the regular line of credit. The uncommitted line of credit is provided by the bank for an extended period of time. But here, the bank reserves the right to refuse to honor any request for the use of line. The committed or regular lines of credit, on the other hand, are a much reliable source of short-term financing, which is usually less than 365 days, and it is a bank's formal commitment. These are usually unsecured and have an option of prepayment without penalties. Banks receive a commitment fee along with interest as compensation for providing secure credit. You can find the details about committed credit in the footnotes of a company's annual reports. Moving on to the second external source of short-term finance, that is revolving credit agreement. Revolving credit is an agreement that permits an account holder to borrow money repeatedly up to a set dollar limit while repaying a portion of current balance due in regular payments. So when you make a payment, it includes principal repayment, interest payment, and a payment towards fee charged. Each payment minus the interest and fee charged, that is the principal amount repaid, replenishes the amount available to the account holder. A revolving credit agreement is in effect for multiple periods and involve larger amounts. Now the third one is secured asset-based loans. These are the loans in which lender requires the company to pledge a collateral in form of an asset. These assets could be either of any fixed asset that a company owns, or some high quality receivables or even inventories. In assignment of accounts receivable, the borrower pays interest, a service charge on loan, and the assigned receivables serve as collaterals. Then fourth, we have the factoring arrangement. Factoring is a financial transaction. It is a type of debtor finance in which business sells its accounts receivable to a third party called factor at a discount. A business will sometimes factor its receivable assets to meet its present and immediate cash needs. Here you have a third party called factor. A factor is an intermediary agent. He provides cash or financing to the companies by purchasing their accounts receivables. So here what you do is, say if you happen to have a balance of accounts receivable of say 1 million from a couple of debtors, and the due date for the receipt of such payments is a couple of months later, but you need the cash immediately. What you can do is sell these receivables to a factor at a discount of say 3%. So you will receive a cash of 1 million minus 3% immediately from the factor. And now the factor will be entitled to collect the cash from debtor for the full amount due as and when it falls due. A factor is essentially a funding source that agrees to pay the company the value of an invoice less the discount for commission and fee. In the process of factoring, the company shifts the credit granting and collection process to a factor or the lender. If in a factoring arrangement, sometimes the factor takes on the risk of bad debt also in return for a higher discount, it is called non-recourse factoring. Lastly, you can arrange for short-term finance externally from web-based and non-bank lenders. The web-based, non-bank or peer-to-peer lending is a recent innovation in lending industry and are not very popular with the larger companies. And if at all you're planning to opt for the same, you need to be extra careful and do a thorough background check and an analysis of the terms of lending before opting for the same. Next, we can also arrange for capital needs through capital market financing. And the most common sources of capital market financing are, and these are all long-term sources of financing and most of which you are well versed with. First, commercial paper. Commercial paper is a common form of unsecured short-term debt issued by a corporation. Commercial paper is typically issued for financing short-term needs such as payroll to employees, accounts payable, inventories, etc. Commercial papers are generally issued by large and well-rated companies. These are usually cheaper than the short-term business loans taken from commercial banks. The maturity period of a commercial paper generally ranges between a few days to up to 270 days. The dealers of commercial papers, usually the large financial firms or the paper dealers, require a line of credit to ensure that the commercial paper is paid off in time. Then we have long-term debt. It is the debt with maturity of more than 1 year. Long-term debt could either be private or public. The public debt is in the form of negotiable instruments that can be traded in open markets. And private debt, on the other hand, could also be negotiable but is not generally traded in open markets. The long-term debt could be taken in form of bank loans, notes, bonds, debentures, etc. While the notes have maturity ranging from 1 to 10 years, bonds and debentures have maturities of at least 10 years. Higher the term of maturity of a bond, greater is the risk in form of credit risk and hence a higher interest rate. Third, we have the common equity. Common equity is the total amount of all investments in a company made by common equity investors including total value of all shares of common stock plus retained earnings and additional paid-in capital. Common equity represents the ownership in a company and is a more permanent source of capital. The owners of common shares or the shareholders receive dividend distributed by the company. The shareholders hold the right to elect the directors of the company. The equity of a private company or private equity are not required to register with SEC and are not traded in open markets. Fourth, preferred equity. Preferred equity is a component of share capital that may have combination of features not possessed by common stock, like fixed dividends. They possess the properties of both equity and a debt instrument and are generally considered a hybrid instrument. Then we have other hybrid securities, like the convertibles issued by a company such as convertible debentures or convertible preferred equity. These instruments can be converted into a fixed number of pre-specified common stock of a company after a specified date. Lastly, we have other forms of financing such as lease. A lease is a contract outlining the terms under which one party agrees to rent an asset owned by another party. This contract guarantees the lessee or the tenant the use of the property and guarantees the lessor or the owner of the asset a regular payment for specified period in exchange. These are generally formal contracts, and these contracts specify the length of time for which lessee can use the asset. The contract also specifies the terms of lease, such as the amount of rent payable, the maintenance obligation of the asset, whether the lessee is responsible for maintenance or the lessor, the buying option at the end of lease and the price at which it can be brought, etc. Moving on, we'll now discuss the considerations that affect the financing choices. There could be two types of considerations: the firm-specific considerations and general economic considerations. The firm-specific considerations that affect financing decisions are: 1. The size of the company. The size of the company impacts both the cost at which it can raise the capital and the sources through which it can raise the capital. The larger the size of the company, more options it has and lower the cost. Second, riskiness of assets. There is a higher risk involved with borrowed funds as compared to the owner funds. But on the benefit side, they also provide leveraging benefits. The risk and benefits must be analyzed judiciously before making any decision. Third, requirement for collaterals. Often, when companies are raising funds through debt, they are required to pledge certain assets as collaterals. It is important to look at the terms of such contracts about restrictions on use of such assets. Fourth, public versus private equity. With public equities, there is a risk of losing control over the affairs of the companies. Whereas with the private companies, the shares are held by few people from within the group, so there is a little or no diversion of control. Fifth, asset liability management. Asset liability management is a process of managing the use of assets and cash flows to reduce the firm's risk of loss from not paying the liability on time. Well-managed assets and liabilities increase the business profits. It is a long-term strategy and an important consideration in financial decision making. Sixth, debt maturity structure. Debt maturity is the time at which each item of debt, both long-term and short-term, falls due for repayment. The debt maturity is usually structured in such a way that each time one item falls due for repayment, there are enough funds at the disposal of the company to clear the same. Therefore, maturity and terms of debt is also an important consideration in financial decision of a company. Seventh, currency risk. While making international investments or taking foreign currency loans, currency risk is an important factor to be considered. Any decrease in the value of domestic currency at the time of repayment of loan or any increase at the time of selling of foreign asset may jeopardize the financial position of a company. So all of these need a due consideration. And lastly, agency cost. Agency cost is the cost of disagreement in case of conflicts between the managers and shareholders of a company. The conflict arises because owners want the managers to take decisions that benefits them. The conflict could be between the managers and the owners, the majority and minority shareholders, owners and other stakeholders. The agency cost could also be in form of agency cost of debt. This arises when the debt suppliers add restrictive covenants to the terms of debt. And the agency cost on equity arises when the managers diverge from the interests of the share owners. Other than these firm-specific considerations, there are also general economic considerations. And these include 1. Taxation. And the aim here is to obtain maximum tax benefits. Say for example, generally debt servicing cost is deductible from the income for the taxation purposes, thus providing the tax benefits to the companies or the leveraging benefits. Similarly, there could also be other tax benefits at the time of liquidating the investment in form of conversion of instruments instead of other forms of redemption at maturity. All these factors need a due consideration before making any financial decision. The second general economic consideration is inflation. Inflation is another important factor for financial decisions. For example, if inflation levels are unnaturally high, then the value of currency is low and it is good time to sell the foreign investments or raise debt finance. Third is government policies. Certain government policies are sometimes in favor of certain types of investments. They provide benefits in terms of tax concessions or subsidies. These may make such investments more profitable in comparison to others. There may be other government policies such as taxation policies, monetary and fiscal policies, etc. These may impact the rate at which the source of finance is available to the businesses. Now last we have the monetary policies. The monetary policies of government directly impact the rate at which debt finance can be raised. This is done through reserve requirements, money supply, etc. And these indirectly impacts the cost of equity as well. So, the direction of wind of the economy is also an important consideration. So that was the first LOS. You can check out the study material along with the question bank for this topic at our website procfa.com. The link is in the description below. Contact us if you have any queries. You can do the same through our website.